If you're a CDL driver facing a ticket, don't just think about getting it dismissed. The real question is whether it could cost you your job. And most drivers don't realize how much is really at stake. In this video, I'm going to show you why protecting your CDL career requires a different mindset than just winning or losing a particular ticket in court, how experienced attorneys evaluate the real risk you're facing, and why some outcomes that aren't dismissals can still save your job and your livelihood. Hey, Mark Bigger here. I'm an attorney who grew up in a family of professional drivers, racked up plenty of miles, and got my fair share of tickets. So I started fighting them. It turned out I wasn't too bad at it. Now that's all our firm does in court. If you've got a ticket and you want to speak with an attorney who you can trust, give us a call at 661-859-1177. Let me start by explaining why the all or nothing approach to CDL defense can actually be dangerous. Why isn't every CDL case about getting a dismissal? When some drivers hire an attorney, they want one thing, total dismissal. And I understand that. A dismissal means nothing goes on your record, nothing affects your PSP, and nothing impacts your job. That's the ideal outcome, and we fight for dismissals whenever possible. But here's the reality. Not every case can be dismissed, and sometimes pushing too hard for dismissal can actually make things worse. Well, let me explain what I mean. Let's say you were cited for speeding 71 in a 55 zone or driving your commercial vehicle. The officer's radar reading is solid, the equipment was calibrated, and there are no obvious procedural errors. If we take this case to trial demanding a dismissal and we lose, you're convicted of the original charge, which is a serious traffic violation under federal law and 1.5 points on your state MVR. That conviction adds points to your CSA score, stays on your PSP for 3 years, and can count as one of your 2 strikes before a 60-day CDL suspension. But what if instead of pushing for trial, we negotiate and get the charge reduced to a non-point violation? You still have a conviction, yes, but it's not classified as a point or a serious violation under federal rules. Your CSA score takes less of a hit, your employer sees a less severe violation, and most importantly, it doesn't carry points. In that scenario, the reduced charge is actually a better outcome than risking trial, even though it's not a dismissal. That's what I mean by managing risk. We're not just thinking about winning this one case. We're thinking about your ability to keep driving for the next 5 years, 10, 20, and down the line. How do attorneys assess downside risk and escalation risk? When we evaluate a CDL case, we're looking at 3 types of risk: downside risk, escalation risk, and record exposure. Understanding these helps you see why strategy matters more than just fighting every ticket to the end. Downside risk is what happens if you lose. If you're facing a 1-point violation, we go to trial and lose, the downside is limited. You get to 1 point, stays on your record for 3 years, and your insurance might go up. That's sometimes manageable, although very painful for CDL drivers. But if you're facing a serious traffic violation and we lose a trial, the downside is massive. Federal suspension thresholds kick in. Your CSA score can jump. Your employment insurance costs increase. Some companies have zero tolerance policies for serious violations, meaning you lose your job immediately. When the downside risk is that high, we have to weigh whether pushing for dismissal is worth the gamble or whether a negotiated reduction is the smarter play. Escalation risk is about what else can go wrong. Sometimes when you fight a ticket aggressively, it draws more attention to your case. Sometimes the officer will mark down a lower speed than what he clocked you at. If you go to trial, the testimony may come out that you were actually going 15 over the limit. The judge could find you guilty at that speed, and you could have a more serious issue at hand. If you could have gotten a non-point violation on the case, this is a big loss for your driving record. That's an escalation risk. Sometimes the best strategy is to resolve the original charge quickly and quietly before anyone decides to look closer. It's not about being scared, it's about being smart. Record exposure is about how visible this violation would be over time and to whom. A conviction that shows up on your MVR for 3 years is one thing. A conviction that also triggers a company's internal safety review, disqualifies you from certain routes, or makes you uninsurable is something else entirely. We're always thinking about how this violation will follow you and what doors it might close in your career. What are examples of outcomes that protect long-term driving ability without full dismissal? Let me give you some real-world examples of outcomes that aren't dismissals but still protect CDL careers. Example 1. You're cited for an unsafe lane change while driving commercially. The prosecutor won't dismiss, but we negotiate a reduction to a non-moving equipment violation. You still pay a fine, but the conviction isn't classified as a point violation on your state MVR. Plus, the violation is not viewed as a moving violation under federal rules if it was entered into that system. So your employer sees that the charge was reduced, which signals that the original allegation was weaker than it appeared. You keep your job, your record stays cleaner, and you avoid the serious violation classification. Example 2, you're facing an over 100 mile per hour violation in your private vehicle in the wide open desert. A conviction would be 2 points for 7 years and immediate termination for most carriers. We fight the case and get the charge reduced to a simple 1-point speeding infraction on your record for 3 years. You avoid the 2 points and you keep the job. It's not a dismissal, but it's the difference between a career setback and a career ending. These outcomes don't make for exciting headlines, but they're what actually protect CDL careers in the real world. They require understanding the rules, knowing how different agencies and employers evaluate violations, and having the experience to negotiate outcomes that minimize long-term damage. Why does strategic thinking matter more than courtroom battles sometimes? The truth is, most CDL defense work happens outside the court trial. The case strategy at the beginning, crafting a written defense in motions, reviewing video and notes from the officer, and negotiating in court. There's a lot of different things that can go into a case. This is where most of the points are avoided and improvement to the federal record can be made. Drivers who approach every ticket as a fight to the death often end up worse than drivers who let experienced attorneys assess the situation strategically and pursue the outcome that best protects their long-term ability to drive. That's not about giving up. It's about being smart enough to know when fighting harder creates more risk than it protects. Protecting your CDL isn't just about beating one ticket. It's about managing risk, understanding how violations impact your career over time, and making strategic decisions that keep you on the road for the long haul. This requires experience, judgment, and a clear-eyed view of what outcomes are realistic and which ones are worth fighting for to the very end. If you received a traffic ticket and want to know how you can fight it, give us a call at 661-859-1177. We offer free consultations to help you understand your options. Don't let a simple ticket turn into a bigger headache. Let us guide you through the process and fight for the best possible outcome. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more practical legal advice. Tap the next video to keep learning and stay ahead of your next ticket.